Welcome to In Alignment. I'm Annie.
And I'm Marissa. You were meant to find this today, and we're so glad you're here.
So, Marissa's birthday's next week. Happy early birthday. Justine sent me a podcast yesterday on this about being single in your 30s and feeling like you're behind. And I feel like both of us talk about this a lot. I talk to my mom about this a lot. But I feel like my life right now, it's not what I thought. You know what? Actually, I take that back. I think it is what I thought I would be in my 30s, or I'm 30 right now. I think this is kind of where I thought I would be, but I think society and going on Instagram and seeing everybody at weddings with their partner, getting married, getting engaged. Some of my friends are even having kids and moving out. And I'm like, I feel like I am behind because I'm single. I'm not in a relationship. I don't have that stability. I don't have that settledness in my life. But then I also think of my dream in life was to start a company. And I'm doing that. And we're working anywhere we want to work. We are meeting incredible people. We're traveling a ton. We've expanded our friends. We've met wildly amazing people in business. We interview incredible people on the podcast. And I'm like, if I could have had a house settled down in the suburbs, working a corporate job, or this where I would want to be 100 times over. But it's so funny because I look at other people around me and I feel so behind, so scared, so lost sometimes. But it's exactly where I want to be. And I'm not saying that I don't want that, but my mom had me at 38, my sister at 39. My mom met my dad at 32, got married at 35. So I know all of it is coming and I want that too, but I would never want that if I didn't have this. I want all of it. And this is the first layer to that. But I feel like we can look at people around us and you can feel behind. But I think we're kind of also both exactly where we dream to be in a way. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I mean, I I'm trying to actually parse out in real time how much of it is driven by feeling seeing other people and feeling behind versus what I thought to your earlier point where I thought I would be and reconciling. I think a lot of people who have always tried to overachieve when you're in your 20s and your things are going really well. Some people, not everyone maybe feels that way. Maybe a lot of people come into their own in their 30s. But for me personally, I was pretty ahead, I would say, in my 20s. And I got a lot of wow, you're killing it in your 20s. Look at your job title, look at your career, boyfriend, apartment. I had that stuff and I felt like everything was super figured out and I felt ahead. And then the last couple of years, I was in two long relationships that could have ended in marriage. I had a career that was progressing very linearly. I saw where that was going. And yeah, my birthday is in a few days. I'm turning 32 and single. I don't have an income. We're building our own business from the ground up. I moved out of my apartment. I don't know where, I actually think I'm going to move back to New York, but everything was on the table. To your point, we work from anywhere. And I was like, where am I going to live? How are we going to make this business make money? Who will my person be? Will even, those thoughts that come back in and are the things that I thought I wanted meant for me. And I think both of us have a lot of faith that the things that we desire are meant for us on a different timeline. And it's not that I don't love where I am, because to your point, if you asked me, would you this is my dream and I'm doing it for a reason, but there's still this discrepancy of what I planned versus where I am. And I think the society part comes into play too, because there are so many things around getting married by 30, having kids at a certain age, hitting these milestones, and you don't really get rewarded for anything else. And both of us love achievement and praise. And so it's hard to be strong within yourself and know you're doing the right thing when no one's clapping for you and no one's giving you that pat on the back that's you're killing it. You're, oh my God, I'm wow, you have it all. And especially if you've heard people say that before and now they're not, you have I'm saying I am having to find that within myself. And there's something about a birthday that really brings all of that to the surface where I'm oh God, if I could just not turn that age, I just need more time, give me more time to get there. And that's what's really hard about the birthday, I think.
Yeah.
And I even find myself, I'm jealous of you, Annie. I'm oh my God, you're only 30. You're not even, you turned 31 after I turned 32. It's it's so silly, these small things, but I'm oh, you have so much more time,
It's really funny because I literally had that exact conversation yesterday in the car with my mom. I was saying, I went through a big breakup last summer that again like was very much marriage track, that serious, could very easily could have been my person. And I was like, I just wish that happened at like 26 or 27 because and then, I would be here right now, but I would be 29 and I'm like doing the math in my head and I'm like, this is like the fast track to attract the wrong person or end up in the wrong situation. Like, what am I doing? And I think when I look back on my life, every single thing makes sense. And, I started in private equity, which was, I learned a ton. If I didn't start there, I would never be building this business because that led me to be like, oh, I like more of the operating more so than the finance. So then I went to a Series A fund, then I went to an incubator, and I was literally taught for 3 years how to build a startup, which led me to exactly this point. If I didn't live in New York, if I didn't have, the health stuff and feeling so uncomfortable in my body, I would have never had this passion to start this business. If I never dated, Angus, who I very much thought I was going to marry, I would have not had that mirror held up to myself to see every single thing that I need to understand about myself, work through childhood stuff, triggers to end up with the right person. Like I would never be able to marry and be the partner that I want to be with my person if I didn't go through that relationship at exactly that time. So I think when we look back in hindsight, it all makes sense. And then when we look where we are right now, we're like, oh, but I wish I was further ahead or I'm behind everybody. But we both know that when we're 35, 40, 45, we're going to look back on this and be like, obviously, this had to happen exactly when it did. Like we are so on the right track, but why is it so hard to trust and why is it so easy to compare?
100%. I remember so vividly after my breakup at 27 feeling like, oh God, I'm too old. Or like, I don't know. I just had that feeling. And what I've kind of, the comfort that that gives me is that in a few years, I will now look back at this time and think I'm so young the same way I look at that time. And now I've had a whole other very long relationship since then. And the same as you, it's like I had to go through these experiences. If I hadn't, everything was critical to bring me here. And I think there's two parts of that. One is like, I do think that's true. And the other is that I think that we should all look at our lives that way because otherwise, it's like we can't change it. So what are the lessons? But I do think it's like objectively true that these things build us and like grow us in such a specific way. And then the other thing that you said that I think is so important that I'm forcing myself to stick to is not allowing the scarcity of youth, of time, dictate the steps that we take. So, like, I have not spent any real time single since I was 23. There was a very short gap between 2, 3+ year long relationships when I was 27. And I can very clearly see now that I was avoiding being with myself and that I didn't really deal. I never dealt with myself in a real way. And I never learned to love being alone. And holy shit, is it uncomfortable to be alone. Like when I moved out of New York, a real point in my mind was like, if I'm not in the city, if I'm not living in one place, if I'm living, if I go to Austin and Miami, like at first I was like, am I running from myself? But I was like, no, I'm actually like forcing myself to be with myself because I can't really date. I can't just like do the same things with the same friends every day. And I can't like jump into something. I can't, so I'm not saying everyone needs to like abandon their apartment and like move away. But for me, I knew going into like in this breakup that I had to take time for myself in a real way that I'd never ever allowed before. And the voice creeps in of like, you're wasting time, like you're getting older. And batting that away is like, I know I have to bat it away because that would be the perfect way, to your point, to attract the wrong partner. Like, I don't want to attract someone from a place of fear, from need, from anything other than like my confident, grounded self. And even though I feel very like confident and grounded in many ways, I like I need to learn how to be alone. And I think you do too. Like we talk about this all the time. The loneliness of not having someone text you every morning and every night, even though we text each other every morning and every night. It's not the same. And just like knowing, like having that peace of like knowing that person is there is deeply unsettling if you've been in a long term relationship for a long time. And I think that we're both learning to be like it is we cannot get into another relationship until we, like, actually are just loving this time.
Literally, yes, Marissa, like everything you just said. And what's so interesting is that, I broke up my boyfriend and I, the really serious one, and I broke up last August. And I like kind of not immediately after, but I wasn't ready. I just was like, "Oh, I'll start dating." I literally was doing the math in my head. I'm like, "Okay, I'm 29, now I'm 30, like, perfect, like, thank God this isn't happening a year from now. Haha, joke's on me." And I started dating out of a place of, like, I'm still young, I need to get over this, I need to get over the pain, and I did date someone, and that was very much not the right person. And I dated him for 5 months, and then we broke up. Like, I was like, "This is not the right relationship," and I had to end it, and it was fine. That wasn't it was a great experience, it was a great guy, but it just wasn't for me. You know what happened? Is I had to go backwards and feel the grief of that long-term relationship starting over, and I felt the real grief that time, and it was debilitating and so painful and exponentially worse than when we first broke up, and how I know that was the real grief is I had no desire to date. And it sounds funny because I'm like, wow, I'm a year out of the relationship. Like, I should be dating. I should be moving on. Obviously, should is a relative word, but I had absolutely no desire because I was actually feeling it. And I think that symbolizes a lesson in life, one that you kind of just mentioned of that, if we have a lesson to learn, we are going to keep getting that lesson over and over and over again until we learn it. In mine, there's a million lessons in that breakup. But, a lot of it was how to be alone, how to be happy alone, how to feel pain and sit in it and not go around it. And I think going around it is like, I'm just gonna lose weight after a breakup, or I'm just gonna start dating, or, well, I'm gonna capture this youth and like find my partner immediately. Like that scarcity mindset. If you're operating from it, you're circumventing the pain. You're not going through it. You're not feeling it. And you're not learning the lessons that you need to learn in that space. And I, got the lesson served right back to me. It's like, nope, you're not going to escape this experience. You are going to go through it until you feel and learn the lesson, and then you can evolve to the next chapter. So I think if we operate under that scarcity mindset, or we operate as if we're on a time clock and we're racing to find our person or to avoid pain or just solve things immediately, well, unfortunately, what might happen is then you get divorced or you settle now to make yourself feel safe now, and then at 48 with a kid, something happens. Like, you can't escape the lessons that you have to learn in life.
And what you were just saying also reminded me that, like, it's almost like really good things do take time, and you can always I think about who would I have married if I had gotten married in college, and it's like that I don't think that we would have anything in common now, or like, when I think back on all these things, it's like, I'm so grateful for all the relationships that I've had, but if I had stopped there and gotten married, I don't know why in my head it's like, "Oh, then I would have checked that box and that's it for life." To your point, like, if you if you don't do, like, the hard work of getting to really know yourself, love yourself, figuring all this out, and, like, attracting someone from a good place, it's like I don't know what I'm trying to say, but basically, like, getting married is not the magic pill that's gonna solve it, and that's what I keep reminding myself of too, is, like, I would so much rather figure out how to be really secure and happy alone, and my worst outcome being that, that's where I am, than to be in an to not have that, to be in an unhappy relationship and to be 8 years, 10 years down, having kids, whatever, and then realizing that. And also, if anyone listens to this and is feeling that, I also think it's never too late to start over. Like, to our point earlier about wasting time, it's like it's not a waste of time because you can't change the past. So it's like we can only kind of control our next step. And so I think if you're unhappy, there's only one right choice, which is to go a different way. It's just interesting coming back to our original point, because I do believe all these things. And yet I still, like, for the last few weeks looking at this birthday, I'm just like, wow, that is not where I thought I'd be. But I also think if anyone's experiencing that, I can talk later about how I've manufactured my birthday so that I will be the least sad. Cause I think that it's also important to kind of like know where you hurt and set yourself up for success. Like, if you for me, it's like making sure, I talk to my friends. I do certain things so that we don't so that we can like heal in like a more controlled and pleasant way than just like truly, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, but the thing is, Marissa, is you're not where you thought you would be at 32. Okay. So you stayed at the big tech companies, leading product. Would you want to do that or have your own? You know, your last relationship, I'm not going to speak for you. I believe that that was like potentially your final lesson in a string of relationship lessons that you had to understand and move through to then attract your person. So if we said, you could have this right now, which is starting your own company. Yes, not generating income, but like literally starting your own thing, not working for somebody else. Would you take the old life or would you take the potential for what is going to come? You're turning 32. Well, if you know that that's your destiny, like we always say, if you have a desire, it's in your path. Like if you really crave something and want something for yourself, that is was planted in you for a reason because it is in your path and you have to take the aligned action to get there. So you know that this level of a partner is in your path. You know that building your own successful business is in your path.
I mean, yeah, absolutely would not trade it. I think there's a natural human instinct of like, I just am almost like mad it had to go this way. Like, I think the other thing, and I want you to talk about actually, because I feel like even in the last few weeks, watching you move through the grief, I think the pain can be shorter lived than people think it has to be when you actually let yourself feel it. I think a lot of our avoidance of pain keeps us in a stuck state much longer. And I feel like watching you the last month has really been inspiring to me. But one thing quickly about that is the biggest lesson that I've learned in my last relationship, in my career, is that when I try to control things or other people to bend to my will, I am always, always disappointed. And the only person who's capable of wasting my time is me. And I don't really believe in wasting time, but like the quote, like time wasting comes from me trying to control everything to be perfectly the way I want it instead of accepting what the reality is in front of me. And I think that, like, to your point of like, would I choose, which one would I choose? I would absolutely choose to have to start over, to build a company that I want to build, to find and attract the right partner. But I can relate to the self that was like a year ago, which is like, I want all of it exactly the way I want it at once. And I don't want to make any of these sacrifices. And I want this person to be the one. I remember even just trying to transition perfectly from my tech job to like raising money and going this route. I just I wanted to avoid this pain at all cost. And if anything wasted my time, it was trying to avoid that pain by trying to control things that I couldn't control, not reading the very obvious signs that were on the wall. And now that I've fully accepted those things as just true, it's extremely painful, but it's the only way. And I can't have it any other way. And I wouldn't have it any other way. And I think because like watching you, I'm like in a delayed state to what you've been through. And so we kind of ebb and flow, but watching you has been massively inspiring to me.
Well, good. I'm happy to hear that because I don't always feel it. But no, it's so interesting. I have a good friend of mine who's a little bit older than me, and I just really everything she says just like hits. She's so amazing. And she said to me last fall when I was like really going through the depths of my heartbreak and I wasn't letting myself feel it and I didn't know I was doing that. She was like, "You are not going to find the right person until you don't need to find the right person to be happy." And I was like, "I that's the worst thing I could ever hear, like, I will never be okay alone, like like, that doesn't apply to me." And I dated prematurely, and I entered a relationship that, again, was not the right fit. My ex, the long-term one, almost kind of surfaced back into my life, like, very in a small dose to kind of trigger the healing that I needed to go through, which is funny, like, again, you really cannot avoid lessons no matter how hard you try. And I was hit with the grief of that relationship. It's delayed onset because I tried to avoid it. Like, it literally hit me 10 months later. I was in the depths of sorrow as if, like, the relationship ended the day before. But it's because you cannot escape pain. And, like, this is part of the thesis of our work is that if you avoid discomfort, if you avoid pain, emotions are energy in motion. They will be stored in your body and they will ask to be resurfaced. Whether that is because you are feeling sadness and grief and you have to cry, write, be devastated, feel hopeless. You have to feel the pain, or it'll be an autoimmune disease or a fertility challenge or skin issues or pelvic pain. Like, you can't escape it. So I did suppress mine, and then it came back up, and I fully felt it. It felt like the relationship had ended the day before, and I think I had, like, a month that I was, like, depressed, and I was feeling grief like I've never felt before. And I think, yeah, one of the lessons is that you really have to go through it. But I took a different approach that time. I had absolutely no interest in escaping it. I think I was hit with it so hard too that I had to learn the lesson of going through it. So, like, maybe, I was so sad that I didn't wanna do anything but experience it. And I cried, I wrote, I talked to people that I trust, I just sat in silence, I walked in silence, I moved the energy through me, I worked out in ways like I literally was doing, like, strength training with no music. I was just feeling my body, I was feeling the feelings, I was nurturing myself. And it's so interesting because now this was, like, a month and a half, 2 months ago, I have now, like, actually started to feel that feeling that my friend told me last fall of once you're okay with yourself, that is when you are healed. And in my mindset now is like, not when am I going to meet my husband? Like, I'm actually not even interested. I'm not going to download a dating app. I just don't have any interest. Like, it'll happen when it's supposed to happen. Of course, I want it and it's part of my life. I know that it's part of that, but like, I have no interest in manufacturing my way there or trying to like I just kind of I have, like, joy again in things I do with just myself, like baking and cooking in the woods and friends, and I, like, actually feel like I went through it, and I think that was, like, one of the biggest lessons I had to learn in all of this. Shift, our mission is simple to help women transform their lives by shifting the patterns that are keeping them stuck. Insight is powerful, but insight without action doesn't change your life. If you're navigating a breakup, anxiety, burnout, a career transition, grief, body image struggles, or you just have this feeling that you're meant for more, there's a version of you who you're ready to become, and we'd love to help you step into her. We do that in two ways through Shift. The first is through our one on one coaching, where we help you understand the patterns that have been running your life, build the skills to respond differently, and create the kind of lasting change that transforms your relationships, your career, your health, and the way you feel every day. The second is the Shift, our 21-day self-guided transformation program designed to help you change the emotional patterns beneath your health, relationships, career, and everyday life. Through daily lessons, guided somatic practices, journaling, and real life application, you'll learn the Shift method and begin building new emotional patterns until they become your default. And if you're looking for ongoing support, our Shift membership launches this September. Through live coaching, guided practices, a supportive community, and a growing library of tools, you'll have everything you need to make emotional health something you practice, not just something you think about. Learn more at shiftinto.co.
I can speak as someone who closely watched you through this entire process that you like went through it head first and I've watched it slowly lift. And like it's interesting how you said that it was 10 months ago, but it felt immediate. Like our bodies don't really have a sense of time. Our sense of time is really in our brains. And so if we like suppress grief or suppress feelings, they can pop up like it was yesterday. And I've experienced this so many times over with like actual deaths that I've had in the family where it's like I am snapped back to my childhood like it was there because that grief is so stored. So like I think not judging ourselves for when the grief surfaces or how long it's been since the relationship, like instead of judging it, just like allow it as hard as that is because it's physically painful. And we've talked a lot about this. And I think I knew so a quick story on my like avoidance and how the reason I like know I can't do it this time is mentioned when I was 27. I got out of a relationship. It ended in February. March 1st, took a new job. I moved apartments. And by May, I had a new boyfriend. And during that time, literally was never, I was hanging out with friends. I was doing things every night of the week. I knew better than to be on dating apps. I happened to meet my next boyfriend in person. But I remember the relief of perfect. This was all for a reason. I found the right person. And on paper, they were wildly different. Like all of the things that I think didn't quite work about my relationship were totally the opposite in this new one. And I was like, I did it. I changed the pattern. This is totally like, this is going to be it. And I didn't have to go through a lot of pain. Like I felt like I had hacked the system, beat the system, and now I could just get married and like, great. And like, I was so in love and so happy. And I was just great. So fast forward to literally 3.5 years later, February again. literally the same week. And despite those two men being wildly different people, like really, really different people, you would hang out with them and think they were so different. The issues in our relationship were the same, and the same issues in me and the same pattern breakdown happened again. And because we've been doing this work with Shift, because of the fact that I went to Hoffman, because I've done like this deeper level of work, I was finally able to see very clearly I will never have a relationship that doesn't repeat this pattern unless I figure it out on my own. Like I have to retrain this on my own. And similarly for the career, I had to take 5 months between closing down my first startup idea and starting this because every idea that I came to when I was just like, I have to start a company immediately was not right. And I started realizing, like, okay, to get to the right thing, I have to do work at a level within myself that cannot be fast forwarded through and cannot be avoided. And how am I literally 4 years to the day later in the exact same position, looking at the same thing with a totally different person? And I was like, I have no choice but to go through this. And that's what you said, to tie it back to earlier. Life will keep giving you the same lessons until you stop repeating them. There are certain things I will never do in my career again, certain types of people I will never work with again, certain situations. Like when we first started working together, things that would pop up like job things. And I was like, nope, like we are not doing that. And so we have some similar patterns too. And it's like, we're finally actually doing that. And I think that also helps get through the grief because it feels like there's a progress point of I am going to attract something different in the future. And this time is necessary. It's not a waste of time. I don't know if that helps.
Marissa, yes. So true. And the lessons get harder and harder every single time. Sorry, now there's a leaf blower. Oh my God. Perfect. But every time we ignore it, like what you said, oh my God, about between your two relationships of like, oh, perfect. Like now I can just get married. I found the perfect partner. That's what happened to me this winter. I was
Yeah.
on paper. Every box was checked. Every box. And he's great. We were compatible in a lot of ways. He wasn't it, and I hadn't learned my lesson. I hadn't gone through it. So guess what? It wasn't going to work. And I was probably handed something so close to it to make it even harder for myself of like, trust your intuition, trust your gut that this isn't it, have the courage to end what is not. And then guess what? You're going to go through the pain that you tried to ignore because we can't skip it and it will come up in other ways. But I think every single time we ignore a lesson, it shows up harder and harder and harder. So it's like, do we want to go through it now and learn it? And guess what? Learning it, like the thickness of it and the sadness of it and the loneliness of it, it's temporary. Like the pain, we are not going to suffer our whole lives. If anything, like there's an amazing, it's an excitement to going through this because it's like, guess what? I'm getting to learn a really valuable lesson right now that I'm going to move through and learn from. And it's not going to pop up in 6 months, a year, 10 years in a harder version. And I'm also expediting the arrival of the next level for myself. You know, for me, I was also trying to force a startup that wasn't the right idea, but I was never going to get to the right idea unless I went through what I had to go through. So it's like you're going to call in the things that can meet you energetically on that next level when we go through this. So it's not just like poor me, like I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life and depressed over that old guy. No, but that depression and that sadness in mourning him is going to teach you the lessons that you need to be taught to elevate in an entirely new being that is going to attract the next level of your life. And it's like, of course we want to graduate to that level. So there's
Yes.
hope. And again, like I'm being so positive. I've been like literally depressed, but maybe hearing myself talk, I know it's true. And you give me the advice and I believe you and I give it to you. It's just it's hard when you're in it. And I think like to go back to the whole conversation of, okay, well, you're turning 32 and I'm turning 31 this fall and like our lives look a lot different than we thought they would. But how different would they look if we stayed in careers that weren't meant for us, if we settled for relationships just to be settled down in 30, buying a home and having kids, our lives would look a hell of a lot different at 50 or 60 or even in 5 to 10 years. And we might feel really lost and behind then.
And I thank God you can be up when I'm down and vice versa. Cause it's like we really have gone through the same shit, which I think is how we started this company. But it I think having a friend that can mirror this stuff back to you, because Annie and I both know this, we coach women in this. Like we believe it in our souls. But to your point, it can be really, really hard to see when you're in it. When you are like the feeling of grief is a it's a sick you feel sick. It's like it is the one of the worst feelings on earth. And you feel it if you were the one to end the relationship. You feel it if they were the perfect partner, the one who got away. You feel it if you had to get away. Like every single relationship ending brings up some form of grief, whether it's like even just if you feel like you have to start over again, even if that's it. And so, yeah, it's like it's having someone who I think can reflect that back to you when you're at your lowest is so helpful. And even just like this conversation, I think about my birthday. So, but one of my best friends in the world it's so funny. In my last breakup, she and when I went through this breakup, when you have a partner for a long time, you travel with them, right? Like you do a lot of stuff with them. And suddenly when you break up, a lot of times your kind of calendar gets cleared. And so in my
Yeah.
last breakup, she was like, I'm going to Scandinavia. I'm visiting family. I have this trip, come. And so I just booked a flight, had no idea what we were doing, just tagged along with her. It was so healing. And after this breakup, I was just like, I'm really, really, really dreading my birthday. It is just like, this was not my plan. My plan was to be like, I don't even like getting married this summer. Like that's where I thought my life was headed a year ago. And so this was the first birthday that I really felt like, oh wow, this is to our original point. And she is an angel because she is taking a red eye with me to Italy. Like I'll take off at 31, I'll land at 32. We're having a girls trip. One of our other friends is coming. We're going to London after she's has work there and I'm able to go like stay with her for free. Like it's also, I do think just a funny note on finances, like not getting paid. When I think about that and I think about the like love of that friendship and I think about how lucky I am to be waking up with my best friend in Italy on my 32nd birthday. It's like, am I getting married in Italy on my 32nd birthday? No, but like I have this business. I'm going to be able to work from Italy on our business and that makes me so happy. And with my best friend, like I think I'm saying all of this to say that creating meaning and like seeing the things that are also outside of the relationship and just taking a like a step back of like, okay, yes, I didn't maybe get what I wanted or I'm not where I thought I'd be, but appreciating that sometimes life takes us where we need to go. And it's very beautiful in a different way than what we thought it would be.
I love that. Ooh, the chills of that metaphor, Marissa. Getting on the plane at 31 and landing at 32. And I know you've talked about having a small wedding in Italy, but it's like, look at what else you have. And then I know you will have that beautiful small wedding in Italy and it'll be so much better because it'll be right, you know? And maybe you'll step into like crazy financial freedom because the business is successful and you'll have an amazing partner that like only the next version of you could attract through going through this and look at what's carrying you on your way there. Like look at the solidness of your friendships, look at the relationship with your mom, look at the passion that you have for your business, the self-care rituals you've developed to get yourself through hard times. Like that is your toolkit between right now and where you're going, and like, I know you're gonna choose where you're going 100 times over where you've been.
Yeah.
So it's a really beautiful reframe of it. And I also think there's a lot of stuff online. Like literally Justine sent me a podcast on this exact conversation. I haven't listened to it yet yesterday. But like there's so much about being single at 30, starting over at 30. It's like, who made up this narrative that we have to be at certain places by certain milestones? We don't. But what you do have to do is leave the wrong things, have the courage, take the trust falls because we get one life. And like all of the things that we want are in our path. Like if you want to get married, you're not going to die alone with cats. Like you are going to get married. You're going to have children. Like these things are happening for you. But there's a level of surrender. It's like if you envision yourself in this house and like, you kind of like the furniture, the floors kind of creak, but they're fine. Like it's fine. And you could open the door and walk outside and you have no idea what the temperature is going to be. You have no idea how long the walk's going to be, but the next place you're going to go is going to be beyond your wildest dreams. It's going to be the most beautiful house in the world. It's going to be the safest, coziest, everything you can imagine. Do you want to stay where you are and what's like kind of okay? Or do you want to open the door, trust the universe that even if it's freezing, you'll be given the clothing. If it gets really hot, you'll find water. Like you're going to be guided and taken care of. It's not always going to be comfortable, but that's when you're going to learn about yourself. And the next place you're going is going to be so worth the journey. So I think these benchmarks of where we should be are a little bit of false narratives. And Marissa and I are both single in our 30s. So if you're listening and you are too, you're not alone.
You're not alone. And I have a question for you because what you just said is obviously one of the things that you tell me to make me feel better. And I want you to share where you get that faith because I think when you're down really low, it's like, well, what if this is the best house I'm ever going to get? And really quick, something that my mom said to me recently, which was funny, is my mom's like, I don't know why you're acting like having a job and getting married and having kids is so hard. Marissa, like you can go do that if you want to, but you don't like you have a certain thing that you want and you are going to keep going till you get it. She's like, if you really want that badly, you can go do that. Like
Yes.
it's not that hard. And I was like, that's such a funny reframe of like, it's true. If you want the beautiful house that Annie described, it's probably going to take longer. It's going to be harder. But yeah, I want you to share where you get that faith because that is the hardest part is like not knowing for sure, not having that trust that that thing actually is out there for you.
I think it's when you look back in your life, when has anything not really worked out for you? Like, even the job that you don't get, that you're so upset, it was your dream job. That always taught you something. That always led you to something better. Like, I had a really bad job experience in New York, and it was, like, quite literally my dream job. Dream job on paper. It was, like, the hottest fun investing exclusively in health and wellness. It was perfect, and I'm like, "Oh my god, like, how this is it. This is my trajectory. This is my life." It did not work out. It was literally the worst experience I've ever had. It was the opposite of what I was intending. But guess what? It led me through a connection to my next job that taught me how literally wrote me the manual on how to start a company for 2 years that also introduced me to you. So
Yeah.
it's like, thank God that thing didn't work out because my dream, my whole life was to start a business in the health and wellness space. And I was literally guided through some amazing experiences and some horrible experiences exactly to this point. I also believe if you have a desire and you are honest with yourself about leaving the things that aren't meant for you, taking the aligned action. Like if you have a nudge, like, I really want to go work in a coffee shop. I really want to write this essay today. Go do it. Like follow these nudges that are right for you. The playbook is already set out for you. Like all of the stepping stones to exactly what your desires are, if they are rooted in authenticity, not ego, your gut intuition is constantly communicating to you the exact roadmap to get to those things. But if you can just shut out ego of like, no, you should stay, like maybe nothing will be better than this. And listen to the intuition of your authenticity saying like oftentimes your intuition communicates through joy and curiosity. So it's like say yes to that trip or yeah, take that networking call or be bold and reach out to this person. Those little intuitive nudges that might make absolutely no sense and that you might see have no correlation between each other perfectly are laying you the path and the roadmap to exactly where you want to go. Like
Yeah,
it's true.
it is true. And I think for both of us, we have a lot of faith in the universe. I think for some people that looks like God, whatever it is, whatever religion you are, you have some faith that you're guided in some way. But I think even if you don't have that, because of I remember when we were doing our somatic practitioner, when we were taking classes like in school, and we learned about how energy works. It's not woo woo to believe that you really are an attractor. You are a magnet for the things that you authentically want and desire if you are putting that energy out into the world. And I think that when we stay in things that are wrong for us, when we are unhappy, when we're scared, when we're fearful, we repel the things that are right for like we that is what keeps us stuck. And so even if you don't have this faith or you look back at your life and you're like, I don't know if I feel like everything worked out, I don't know if anyone's like looking out for me. There is just no question as energetic beings in an energetic universe that we In the same way, you feel someone walk into a room and you can tell what their energy is, and that dictates whether or not you want to approach them or not, or what you think of them. That is true for every single opportunity in your life. And the only way to like really shift your energy forward is to be consciously, like Annie said, leaning into joy, leaning into the things that light you up, and removing the things that make you feel stuck, because the things that make you feel stuck are energetically trapping you at that level. And sometimes that looks like the hardest fucking months of your entire life, as we can both vouch for. It is not easy to leave everything, and it doesn't. I have tried perfectly to have the seamless transition, never works. There's no such thing. You have to go through it, but it's worth it. It's always, always, always worth it. And even in my darkest moments, I know that. I'm not gonna lie and say I feel this right now, because I don't. I feel the way you did, where I'm like, I can't even fathom meeting someone right now, but I know that soon I will be excited to fall in love again. The excitement of knowing that I will fall in love again is cool conceptually. I'm not there right now, but I know I will be, and maybe you're there.
Yeah. And they're from like a different place of like surrendering control. The universe is gonna just keep doing us, and like the universe is gonna surprise us. Like we are always being guided. And I think I keep mentioning Justine, I don't know why, but she's just related to a lot of this episode. But she always says, like, one of her favorite quotes is just like, follow joy, like, keep following what feels good. And it is really true. Like, we don't need to try and map out our way to all of these things. Like, you're going to fall in love again. Like, all the things that you want are in your path, you're destined for them. Our only job is to experience our journey to those things. And sometimes that experience is the pain that you're sitting in right now. Sometimes the experience is the excitement and the visualization of what could come. Sometimes the experience is just following joy. Like for you, you've tried out all these different cities. New York keeps calling you back. There's something for you there. Like, you're not saying, well, logistically, like, I've never lived in LA and LA's always been a dream of mine. So, like, I should definitely, like, you're not forcing anything. You are literally intuitively following and experiencing your life. And the universe has this beautiful way of bringing the right things to you, of guiding you exactly where you're meant to go if you are willing to release control. So I don't know. I feel like that is our takeaway from this episode of, on paper or like conventionally in today's society, you could look at Marissa and be like, wow, you two have no income and no partner. Like, you good? But we are. And this is a reframe. I think we both needed to hear it. But I think let's like normalize going for really good instead of settling for what could be safe.
Amen. And yeah, I don't have anything to add other than, as long as you're doing the thing that makes you happy, like it's not too late. And I am going to take my own advice and go into my 32nd birthday with a lot of joy and gratitude. This, like, even talking about this really helps. And yeah, like, I think that's all we can do is like meet these milestones with like joy and gratitude, and just continue to do what makes us happy, and know that the rest will work out from there.
100%. Also, like, as a close friend of yours, looking at you at 32, you're like a different person than who you were even this fall. So, even though like some things have been shedded, there's holes, there's grief, there's uncertainty, there's pain, you're also an entirely different, elevated human. So, I think sometimes the growth and I don't know, the milestones aren't always material, or they're not always a fatter paycheck or a beautiful husband or a fancier home. Sometimes they're intangible and seemingly invisible, but actually not at all. So happy birthday, Marissa. And we will see you next Tuesday.
If something in today's conversation resonated with you, take a moment to pause and notice where it's sitting within you.
Living in alignment is not about fixing yourself or becoming someone new. It's about listening, trusting, and slowly coming home to who you already are.
Thank you for spending this time with us and for being part of this community.
If you enjoyed this episode, you can subscribe, leave a review, or share it with someone who might resonate with it too. See you next time.